She slammed the folder on the table so hard, the coffee cup rattled off the edge.
Right now.
Inside that folder, receipts, dates, a second wedding certificate, and a photo of her husband holding another woman at the altar. That woman was not her. Her name was Maya. She had been married for 3 years. She thought she knew everything about the man she loved. She was wrong. This is not a movie. This is not a thriller novel. This is a true account of a double life so carefully constructed, it nearly never came apart. Stay with me, because the way this unravels is something you will not see coming. Act 1. The perfect life, 1 to 4. Let me paint you a picture. Maya, 32, woke up every morning to Daniel already brewing coffee in the kitchen, already humming. She would walk in, still half asleep, and he would turn around with that smile, the one that made her friends say, "I want what you two have." "Morning, beautiful," he always said. "Morning," she would reply, leaning into his chest. Daniel was reliable, calm. He worked remotely in IT flexible hours, occasional travel for server maintenance. He was never explosive, never dramatic. He left notes on the fridge. "Proud of you today. Don't forget to smile. Love you more than you know." Her best friend Lila used to grab Maya's arm and say, "Seriously, you hit the jackpot. Don't ever let that man go." Maya agreed. Every time. She did notice small things. Daniel never talked about his college years. He deflected questions about his family. Old photos of him barely existed. But Maya told herself, some people are just private, introverted, wounded by a past they'd rather not revisit. She respected that. She loved him for it, even. What she didn't understand then, what took her 3 years to see, is that privacy and secrecy are two very different things. One protects your peace, the other hides your crimes. Act 2. The first crack, 4 to 6:30. It started with a phone. Tuesday evening. Daniel was in the shower. His phone sat on the kitchen counter, face up. Maya was washing dishes, not paying attention. Then a buzz, then another. She glanced over. The screen lit up with a message from an unsaved number. Just digits. No name. "Can't wait to see you tonight." Tonight. Daniel had told her he was working late. A server issue, an emergency upgrade. Maya stood very still. Her hands were still wet. Her heart had moved into her throat. She told herself, "It's spam. Wrong number. A client. A coworker." She told herself a lot of things in that moment. When Daniel walked into the kitchen towel around his shoulders, smiling, she almost asked. Almost. But something stopped her. "Big night?" she asked, keeping her voice neutral. "Yeah, you know how it is." "Don't wait up," he said, kissing her forehead.
She watched him grab his laptop bag, watched him walk out the door, watched it close. And in that silence, that very specific kind of silence that sits between what you know and what you're afraid to confirm, Maya felt something crack. Small, quiet, irreversible. Act 3. Doubt grows. 6:30 to 9. She didn't sleep that night. At 1:17 a.m., she sat up in bed, opened the shared family tablet, and navigated to Daniel's synced messages. Her hands were shaking. She almost put it back down twice. She didn't. And there it was, a thread. Hundreds of messages, months of them, years. This wasn't flirtation. This wasn't a mistake. This had inside jokes, nicknames, full arguments that had been resolved. Plans for the future. "Remember when we got lost on the way to Montauk and laughed for an hour?" she wrote. "Best night," he replied. "You and me against the world." You and me against the world. Daniel had said those exact words to Maya on their honeymoon. Maya's chest felt hollow. Then she found the photo. Daniel, smiling at a restaurant she didn't recognize. Across the table sat a woman, blonde, laughing, his hand covering hers on the white tablecloth. The caption, 2 years and still feels like the first date. 2 years. Maya and Daniel had been married for 3. She put the tablet face down on the bed. She sat in the dark for a long time, and she made a decision. She wasn't going to confront him with a trembling voice and wet eyes. She was going to get evidence first. Act 4. The Discovery, 9 to 11:30. The next evening, Maya got in her car. She parked half a block from the office building Daniel always pointed to on the rare nights she drove him to work. She waited. At 6:03 p.m., Daniel's car appeared in her rearview mirror. He drove past the office, didn't slow down, didn't turn. Maya followed. 40 minutes, a different part of town, tree-lined streets, nicer houses, a white townhouse with flower boxes in the windows. Daniel parked, got out, walked up the front path like he owned the ground beneath his feet. He didn't knock. He used a key. Maya stopped breathing. 90 seconds later, the front door opened from the inside. The blonde woman from the photo stepped onto the porch. She leaned into Daniel, kissed him, not a peck, not a greeting, a real kiss, a comfortable one, the kind that comes from years. Maya sat in her car for 54 minutes. She knows it was 54 because she watched the clock the entire time. Lights flickered on inside the house. Silhouettes moved behind curtains. Her husband, in another home, in another life. Then she did something no one expected. She got out of the car. Act 5. The Confrontation, 11:30 to 13:30. She walked up the front path, rang the bell. The door opened. The woman stood there in a cardigan, glass of wine in hand, completely unprepared. "Can I help you?" Maya held up her phone. Their wedding photo. Her and Daniel, cutting the cake, laughing, confetti in her hair. "Is Daniel home?" The woman's face went from confused to pale. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Before she could form words, footsteps came from inside. Daniel appeared in the hallway, and for the first time in 3 years of marriage, Maya saw the real Daniel. No calm, no warmth, no carefully chosen words, just fear. "Maya, don't." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "Which life is the real one, Daniel? This one or mine?" Silence. Then the woman behind her moved. Slowly, turned to face him. "You're married?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. Daniel said nothing. His silence said everything. The woman's wine glass hit the floor. Glass. Red. Spreading across white tile, like a wound. Maya looked at Daniel one more time. "We're done," she said simply. And she turned and walked back to her car without looking back once. Act 6. The Full Reveal, 13:30 to 14:30. Here's what investigators and lawyers uncovered in the months that followed. Daniel had not had an affair. He had built a second life, a complete, structured, functioning second life. He had married the woman, her name was Claire, 6 months after marrying Maya. 2 ceremonies, 2 rings, 2 sets of vows. Work trips were split evenly between the 2 households. Holidays were alternated on a rotating calendar he kept on a private encrypted drive. 2 different phone numbers, 2 different friend groups, 2 different versions of his past. His finances, meticulously managed, 2 separate accounts, 2 separate credit cards, nothing overlapping. This was not impulsive. This was not a lapse in judgment. This was a system, engineered over years, maintained every single day with intention and precision. And that more than the betrayal, more than the lies, is what both women said broke them most. "I could almost forgive a mistake," Maya said later, "but there are no mistakes in a spreadsheet." Outro, consequence, and close, 14:30 to 1500. Maya filed for divorce within the week. Claire filed 3 days after that. Charges were pressed. Evidence submitted. The story went public. Daniel didn't just lose a wife. He lost both. His career, his freedom for a period, and every version of himself he had built. Here's what I want to leave you with. You cannot balance 2 realities forever. No matter how organized you are, no matter how clever, no matter how many notes on the fridge, truth is not a thing you can manage. It waits. It watches, and eventually on a random Tuesday evening when a phone buzzes on a kitchen counter, it steps forward, and everything collapses.